And welcome to this edition of ThisDay on this wonderful Saturday, September 6th. I'm Michael Taylor, but you knew it was Saturday. You knew it was September 6th, because here I am, right here at the desk, as always, on a Saturday, welcoming you to our program. And we've got a great program for you, so let's get right to it. Today on the program, we're going to be talking to Mike Barrett. He does long-term care policies, why you need it, when you need it, and when it's too late to get one. You never want that, right? You never want the insurance a day later than you actually needed it, so we're talking about that. And then later in the program, Dr. John Hovnanian from Harvard Eye Associates is going to be here. We're going to be talking about myopia, and a new study came out on children and nearsightedness that actually is kind of fascinating about the effects and changes that our environment is having on children's eyesights. All right, so we're going to be talking about that as well. Right now, though, we want to keep you informed, and we got a good one for you. We got an interesting thing coming up here. September is National Preparedness Month, and you know how all the fires and the things that have been going on, people need those go bags, right? The essentials in those bags. Well, this is going to be talking about that and a little bit more. Part of the ongoing commitment to safety and preparedness, the Security Services Department will host a Good Neighbor Captain meeting on Tuesday, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to noon over at Clubhouse 2. So get out there, get the information about what a go bag is and a lot of other things about preparedness as we look forward to September being the Preparedness Month. There's more information on the screen. Come out to the event on Tuesday, October 7th. Let's take a check of our weather, and no real disaster in our temperatures. Actually, a nice cool day. Today's going to be the coolest day of the entire week. We're in actual 70-degree mark. We're not even getting to 80s today. Hopefully, fingers crossed. You never know, it might sneak up to 80, but right now we're forecasting 78 degrees. You got the morning clouds will burn off to mostly sunny skies, and that's going to be kind of the pattern for the rest of the weekend and into next week. We have those morning clouds just for a minute, but mostly going to be lots of sun and low temperatures in the low 80s. I love that. Back to kind of average for this time of year as we creep towards fall. Can you believe it? Summer is almost over. Let's take a look at our sunrise and sunset while we're at it. And we got a beautiful picture here from Mendocino State Park in California. Thank you, Stephanie Casey, for sending this one in to us. Sunrise this morning was 6:28, in case you missed it. Sunset tonight, 7:09 p.m. If you'd like to send us a picture of the sunrise, sunset, places around the county, places around the village, pets, all sorts of things, we love all of those pictures. Email us, lagunawoodsvillagetv@gmail.com. Make sure you include your name, where you took the picture, and we will use it in our sunrise sunset segment. All right, when we come back, we'll be talking about long-term healthcare policies with Mike Barrett. Stay with us.
Laguna Woods residents, there's a 70% chance you will need long-term care, yet Medicare doesn't cover it. Will you and your family be ready? Hi, I'm Mike Barrett, your Laguna Woods long-term care insurance specialist. I'm here to protect you, your family, your assets, and your lifestyle to secure your future. Call today for a free consultation at 949-525-0606.
All right, we're going to be talking about long-term care insurance and what that is all about and how it might be good for you. And joining us to do that is Mike Barrett from LTCR Pacific Agency. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Welcome here. So let's talk about what this is and basically how you got started in this. Tell me a little about your story and why this is like your industry and the thing you're doing.
Absolutely. First off, again, thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Absolutely.
Not just to share my personal experience, but also to educate the residents of Laguna Woods Village. I've been in financial services for 25 years, okay? But I always had a deeper desire to truly help people and leave a memorable impact. You know, there's about 10,000 baby boomers every day turning 65. And every one of them has about a 70% chance of needing some form of long-term care.
Okay.
That's when I knew this was the right path for me to pursue.
And the long-term care insurance, what exactly does that mean to folks who aren't familiar with this kind of product or what it does, and you know, how does it help folks?
Yeah, great question. So long-term care insurance is there primarily for two reasons, either a physical impairment or a cognitive impairment, okay? There's no age associated with it. It could be at any point in our lives. But again, it's either when we're having a physical challenge getting around, such as a mobility challenge, or it could be a cognitive impairment. Maybe it's a brain injury, maybe it's Alzheimer's, maybe it's dementia.
Now, people who have saved all their life and have retirement and have this plan, and then something like this happens to them, it can be devastating to their finances, not only their finances, but also the families that are trying to help them and support them and need. So is that where this kind of comes in?
Absolutely. If you may, I'm going to share my own personal story here for a second. About 2 years ago, this became very personal to me. My own mother was in a terrible accident. She broke several bones. She broke her ankle, her knee, her hip, broke several ribs, sustained a debilitating neck injury. She was hospitalized for about 2 weeks. She had multiple surgeries. She was then released and sent to a skilled nursing facility. During the same time, my wife and I welcomed a baby girl who was born with a severe case of colic. So unfortunately, I couldn't be there for my mother during this critical time.
You were busy at home.
Very busy. And it was very stressful because I wanted to be there not just for my family, but also for my daughter. And on a side note, I have another 8-year-old girl. I live about 2 hours from my family, and I'm an only child.
Oh my gosh.
And in addition,
so you have no one else to lean on for the support.
And in addition, my father has a bad back, so he's not in a position to help. Now, thankfully, they have a long-term care policy, and my mother's been on claim now for about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's really been like a kind of a savior to this whole situation?
Oh, absolutely. And the savior's not just financial. It's emotionally and physically. And I will tell you, this experience really reinforced how important my work is. It's critical that everyone seriously considers a long-term care policy for these purposes.
And for you, like your personal story, I bet that was a great relief to know that, okay, there is some way to handle this that is not going to disrupt everybody's lives in such a huge way, right?
Absolutely. I mean, my mom has a professional care provider. She is amazing. She goes above and beyond. She helps my mom with errands. She's even now driving her and my father to come see me, and I live about 2 hours away.
Wow.
But knowing that, she's got a professional caretaker provides me the peace of mind that she's in great hands.
Right. And I'll bet your mom is also in this situation where she's like, I don't want to be a burden on anybody. Who wants to be a burden on another person in the family? Who wants to disrupt someone else's life because of their things that are going on with them, right? So I imagine she's thankful that they had the cognizance to make sure they had that insurance.
Absolutely. They're very fortunate. And fortunately for them, they got their policy about 20 years ago. And it's been an absolute lifesaver.
Now, we touched on some of your personal story, but let's talk about why it's important for people to consider that who may be already in retirement, living here in Laguna Woods Village. Can people who are already in their retirement years get this kind of policy?
Absolutely. I work with clients of all ages. It really depends on each individual. But I always tell people there's 4 primary reasons why everybody should seriously consider a long-term care policy. I'll start off with the more obvious, and that's protecting your assets and your savings. The cost can be ridiculous, and I've seen this firsthand, okay? If my family didn't have a policy, they would have depleted not just a huge portion of their assets, but they would have been forced to sell their home.
Yeah, we've got a chart up on the screen looking at just the annualized cost for something like this, right?
It's like I said, it's ridiculous. So yeah, if you take a look here, if we just focus on a female, average female goes on claim for about 4 years. And you can see here for in-home care at 8 hours a day, $93,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, you times that by 4.
And that's the cheapest.
Yeah, yeah. And if we factor in some inflation in 20 years from now, you're looking at $625,000 for 4 years of care.
Wow.
Yeah, not cheap.
And the income, I understand, is like one of the best kind of things you can do because people, they're healthier, they survive longer if they're in home in those familiar environments. So that's always the preference. But sometimes it just can't be done in home anymore. And then the cost really kind of goes up when you talk about assisted living and nursing homes and things like that, right?
Absolutely. Everyone prefers to be home. It's a lot easier for family and relatives to visit if they want to stay overnight and so forth. My mother was in a skilled nursing facility for about 6 months. She couldn't wait to get home. Thankfully, with the policy, it gave us some additional flexibility, so we were able to get her home sooner. And we had a caretaker initially starting with about 12 to 16 hours a day at home. But yeah, everyone prefers to stay home. About 70% of folks that go on claim start at home.
Okay, we touched on it a little bit. Let's go to that next slide on average time on claim, which is an important thing to understand that this is going to be sometimes years in the making when this insurance kicks in and has that coverage.
Absolutely. Yeah, so again, average male goes on claim for 2.2 years, average male is 3.7. The one caveat here is Alzheimer's and dementia. And I know the slide says 8, but average numbers are now closer to 8.5 years. So this can get quite expensive.
And like we talked about before already, there's a big impact on families when something like this happens and you don't have that insurance. So let's go to that next slide we're talking about here, and what it looks like for everybody in this group.
Yep. So first off, I was in this position, so
you were there.
Yeah, exactly. So this was huge for me. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there for my mother as much as I wanted to because I had to be at home. But thankfully, we had the care provider, and that gave me the peace of mind that my mom was in great hands. But typically, when folks go on claim and our parents need help, that responsibility falls on the adult children. It falls on relatives.
Right.
Right. So
you were 2 hours away, but some people are out of state. They, folks move to Florida and that kind of thing. And so it's an impossibility for them to be over there and covering these things.
Absolutely. So it's very important that we at least have a plan, and ideally we have a policy in place that's there to protect them when they need this type of service.
Absolutely. So when you got into this business, what did you think it was going to be, and what did it turn out to be? Because there's one thing to have that perspective of, I experienced it with my own family, but when you got into this, how did it kind of like, oh, I'm realizing this is what this is all about, and this is the kind of care I can really provide? Yeah,
that's a great question. First off, I didn't fully realize the likelihood of actually needing this policy. I mean, the fact that it's a 70% chance that we all need it, and I'll tell you this, I can't tell you how many people call me and say, you know what, Mike, we're going to reevaluate this in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years from now, and then they call me later, and unfortunately, they're uninsurable, right? So I always tell people,
because now they've had the incident, the injury, or they've slipped into dementia or something like that.
Absolutely. Maybe there's a medical issue where they're now no longer insurable. So I always tell people, the younger we are, the healthier you are, there's no need to wait.
Right.
That's when we want to look at a policy.
Right. A debilitating stroke, an accident, a heart attack, things like that. All of a sudden, you can't get that, and you kind of miss that window of saying, yeah, I'm under this coverage.
Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm an independent insurance broker, right? So I represent about 15 carriers. So my goal here is to do what's best for the client. I can shop it, and many times I can actually find a policy that might work for them.
So it's kind of a concierge service that you do, right? You can shop around for the best and what their needs might be.
Absolutely. So my biggest differentiator is my concierge service. My guarantee to every client is I want to personally be there for them when they need this. I experienced it firsthand. I know the importance of this. I tell every one of my clients, when you get a policy through me, you get my cell phone number. I want to be the first person you call. Don't call the 800 number on that policy. Call me. I have a supporting cast. Okay,
right.
We're going to help make sure that claim is filed appropriately. It doesn't get delayed. It doesn't get denied, and it's going to get approved. And then we're also going to take that next step and find that best care for you.
Can you run through the type of policies that might be differentiators for folks? Hey, this one's good for this one's good for this?
Yeah, so it's very individual. So I have an initial conversation with clients, ask a variety of questions, dive into the health a little bit. But I do represent, as I mentioned, a variety of carriers, and that comes with different products. That could be a traditional product. It could be hybrid products that have a guaranteed death benefit associated with it. It could even be a long-term care annuity.
Okay, so that sounds like a good variety pack there for folks. They can find that, like you say, you'll find the policy right for them. All right, thank you very much, Mike. Welcome to the show. Welcome to us, and from LTC Pacific Agency. We really appreciate you coming in and giving us all this information, folks. The number's on the screen. That 949 number is the one to call to get that consultation. There you go. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.
Your eyes let you see the world, every smile, every sunset, every moment.
At Harvard Eye Associates, our team of specialists is here to protect your vision.
From cataracts and glaucoma to retina and cornea care, we offer the latest treatments with a compassionate touch.
For over 50 years, you've trusted us with your eyes. We're honored to care for them for years to come.
Harvard Eye Associates, the future of vision today.
And from Harvard Eye Associates, we want to welcome back to our program once again, Dr. John Hovannisian. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, Michael. Great to be back.
Always good to check in with you once a month, and we always talk about some interesting stuff. This one we're going to be talking about a myopia epidemic. A new study came out and said there's a lot of rising rates. A lot of the study was done in Asia, but here in the United States they have some information as well. So let's talk about what myopia is. Most people call it nearsightedness, right?
That's right. Nearsightedness or myopia is common and known to most of us, although a little confusing. Those terms can be confusing. Basically, to be nearsighted means that your eyes have a natural focus point for your distance. Focus point is not out there at distance, at infinity. It's more like closer than that. And so if you're nearsighted, very often you can read great without glasses at any age, but distance vision is a little blurry. And these are folks who usually need glasses to pass a DMV test or to go to the movies and watch the
and actually enjoy it and see it.
and see it clearly. Exactly.
So what's going on in the eye structure? What's going wrong maybe in the eye structure that's causing this? What's actually happening inside my eye or someone's eye who has myopia?
Yeah, the most common cause of myopia is just during development that the eye grows. And just think about it this way: the eyeball is longer. And so because it's longer, the light rays don't come into focus at the retina, but they come in focus in front of it. And so the net effect is what I described, that you just don't see well far away.
Okay, so you're not seeing well far away, and it's a kind of obstruction of the growth. So maybe is there an important link in the study that says it's these children that are becoming more and more having issues with myopia while they're developing, the eyes are developing, right?
Well, our bodies and our eyes grow in a couple stages. We know in our infancy, the body grows dramatically, and so does the eye. And so we kind of grow into nearsightedness or grow away from farsightedness, I guess, at that young age. And then there's another growth spurt for the body and the eye that happens usually in our early teen years, so around 10 to age 13. And so that's the time we often see kids who aren't nearsighted become nearsighted. They start wearing glasses when they're around middle school, at the most socially awkward time to have such a change in their lives.
Always such a good time.
Right, and so when the eye grows, then the eye can become nearsighted if it grows enough.
So what do the studies say about health and social impacts of myopia and blindness, actually?
Well, it's a big problem because we're seeing it grow across the world. And, for example, in Asia, we look back at the 1970s, maybe 20-30% of the population of kids was nearsighted. Today it is in certain advanced countries, so Singapore and Taiwan and South Korea, the rates of nearsightedness among kids are about 90% of kids. And in some subpopulations, almost 100%. It's crazy, the incidence. Here in the U.S., it's not as dramatic. In the 70s, about 20 to 25% of kids were nearsighted. Now it's about 35, pushing 40. But we expect by 2050, that number is going to double again. It'll be more than half of kids in the U.S. will be nearsighted. So
and that was really surprising to me in terms of like that 2050 number, where like half of the children in basically the U.S. and the world will be nearsighted.
Well, already right now, we think as many as 1/3 of the children in the world, across the world, are nearsighted. And in India, for example, we don't have great data, but they sure have a big population. And all of this, most people's initial reaction is, so what? Get some glasses. Well, that alone is difficult in some populations,
right? In some places, right.
In poor countries, folks are going to be limited from how well they can take care of themselves. But it goes far, far beyond that, doesn't it? Nearsightedness has a lot of implications for eye health.
Right. Well, now the study found that it's not just genetics. We're not all just rapidly changing our genetics or just evolving into this direction, right? So they found that there were some environmental impacts going on here as well.
We think that the evolution, and we don't entirely understand that, but we think that at least part of the influence in this is these little rectangles we carry around, as the screens, the screen time we spend. We don't want to blame everything on that, but there certainly is a correlation between screen time and development of nearsightedness.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's a wives' tale, but when I was a kid, don't stop watching so much TV, you're going to ruin your eyes, right? And maybe there's some truth to that?
Yeah, well, particularly if you're very close.
Okay.
So what we think is that stimulus to look at things way up close drives nearsightedness because you're stimulating the muscles of accommodation, which are linked
they're constantly squeezing at that rate all the time.
Yeah, and it drives the eye to become more nearsighted. And so we talk a lot about about the 20-20-20 rule, which is the rule that and this is for adults too. It's good for your brain, good for your eyes. Every 20 minutes, take a break at least 20 seconds to look at objects that are at least 20 feet away. And it's good to get up too, because you physically, give your body a little exercise. But go outside is best, where there's sunlight. That's associated with preventing this nearsightedness.
Okay. Now,
And it's important.
That's not new though. I've heard that for many, many years. So like, hey, take a break from the screen, look at something in the distance, right? So how long have we known that that's just a good way to kind of prevent issues with the eye?
We've known for some time, and it's just become much more relevant because we're worried about the diseases that are going to come from this nearsightedness that are unquestionably going to happen in these populations where it's so common.
And in the Asian countries that maybe, like you said, they're developing countries that are developing a lot faster, they're getting these screens. This is kind of like, it's an explosion there. Is it because of the fact that there's so many people now have the access to these phones, and that's their way of life?
It is, in many places, it is they may not have great water, but somehow they have internet connectivity. When I go to remote areas in Armenia, where we do volunteer work, we see kids who've all got phones. It's usually because they inherited them from their parents who got a newer phone. They're inexpensive, service is inexpensive, and it's ubiquitous. But the diseases that come from it are important, so let's talk about those for a second.
Absolutely.
So if you have nearsightedness, and you are in the milder ranges, of course, the risks are mild. But for every 1 unit of nearsightedness, 1 diopter we call it, you have about a 20% increased risk of having retinal detachment.
Okay.
Retinal detachment is a blinding condition. Yeah. And just to put it in perspective, what's a diopter? If you have 1 diopter of nearsightedness, that's a pretty mild amount. Your focus point is about 1 meter away from your face. Beyond that, things are a little fuzzy. You might be able to pass a DMV test without glasses. If you're 2 diopters, it's half that distance. 3 diopters, it's a third of a meter, and so on. And so the more nearsighted you are, the longer the eye is, the greater the risk of disease, and of course the blurrier the vision is right from the get-go.
Okay.
But with a 20% increased risk per diopter, somebody who's got 8 diopters of nearsightedness, actually it goes up, it's not linear. So somebody with 8 diopters of nearsightedness has anywhere from a 15 to a 200 times risk of a normal person of having retinal detachment.
Well, what is causing the retinal to detach, I guess, is the question. Because of the strain you're putting on the eye?
So the length of the eye means that the development of tissues is just different. And so the neurologic tissue, which is kind of set at birth, sort of stretches, and there are forces that put traction on the retina that can cause it to detach. That's the simplest way to explain it. There are diseases that happen in the retina. But it's not just retinal detachment. There's macular degeneration is a disease most people know because of the age-related form of that disease. But there is a form that's called myopic macular degeneration. And the risk is similar to retinal detachment. It goes way up. And it's a blinding condition that can happen in young people.
Oh, wow.
So that's increased. Cataract risk goes up and of course, cataract is treatable if you live in a developed country.
Right, but if you don't, it's almost like it's a sentence for blindness for your life.
That's right. It causes blindness. Glaucoma is much more common in people with nearsightedness. So, we're looking at a big epidemic, not just of people who need glasses or contact lenses, but people who are potentially going blind globally.
Right, and the range of the eye diseases that are attached to this is really amazing.
It's broad. Yeah, it's really broad.
Yeah, and so what are some of the treatments? What are some of the preventions that people can do?
Yeah, great question. So we talked about screen time.
Right.
Certainly, we can treat the vision with glasses or contact lenses. But there are some other things as well. So there are eye drops. Atropine, low-dose atropine eye drops are being used with good success around the world. We soon will have one FDA approved here in the U.S. Currently, most doctors prescribe them through compounding pharmacies, so it is legal to get them. But the legal means of doing that are through these compounding pharmacies, and they work. They're not terribly expensive, and they help to prevent the progression. There are contact lenses. There are a couple of different companies that have contact lenses FDA approved for and that have shown effectiveness to slow down the progression. Some of the eye doctors I talk to who prescribe these feel that the contacts work the best, although mixed opinions, and large studies really haven't absolutely settled on this. If I had a child who was at that range of nearsightedness, I'd probably use the drops and have them in the contact lenses to limit it.
And but also those factors of if you don't have the access to the medical field, you don't have access to those things. It's limit that screen time, get outside. I mean, outside in sunlight and just looking at this can really be a huge factor, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does make a difference. And so we encourage that for everybody. It's good for kids for lots of reasons to spend as much time outside as they can. So thankfully we live here in great California weather, so it's easy for us. But if you've got kids or grandkids who are nearsighted or are at risk of it, they've probably been screened in school, but they ought to be followed by doctors, and if they're particularly becoming more nearsighted, you really need to run toward that problem and do what you can to keep it from getting worse.
All right, folks, good information, good stuff, always from Harvard Eye Associates and Dr. John Hobanesian. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you, as always.
Great to see you, Michael, always.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.
When it comes to protecting your vision from glaucoma, early intervention makes all the difference.
By using proactive steps through interventional glaucoma, we preserve your vision.
With cutting-edge technology and compassionate care,
We're changing how glaucoma is treated.
one patient at a time. As interventional glaucoma specialists, we're not just managing glaucoma, we're redefining it.
Harvard Eye Associates.
The future of vision today.
Simple is beautiful. At Pacific Cremation Services, we've spent 10 treasured years helping families craft simple, memorable services for their loved ones, including memorials at sea. Starting at just $1,595, our thoughtful cremation plans provide everything you need to commemorate your loved one. It's been our honor to serve families in Orange County and beyond for the last decade. Thank you for your trust. Visit our website or give us a call to discover simplicity.
It's Saturday, so that also means I'm not just at the desk, but we're also watching movies, and we've got a great one for this Saturday. It is All the Pretty Horses, starring Matt Damon. It is brought to us by Advanced Ear Care. It's going to be at 2 p.m. with the subtitles and 6 p.m. without the subtitles. It's the story of two Texas cowboys who head to Mexico in search of work, but soon find themselves in trouble with the law after one of them falls in love with a wealthy rancher's daughter. And then a special bonus on September 11th, Remembrance Day, and 9/11 Remembrance Day, we're going to be featuring a great movie by one of our own village residents. It is produced by Maria Pusateri, and it's called Vito After, and it's a story of a first responder and how he dealt with the aftermath of dealing with 9/11, working on the pile, and all of the things surrounding that story. So we're going to be featuring that one this Thursday, September 11th at 11:30 a.m. right here on Village Television 406. So look forward to that one. It's a mini festival award winner as well, so we're really looking forward to debuting that right here in Village Television. All right, let's take a quick check of the weather before we head out, and we got some good temperatures for the rest of this weekend and into next week. Today's going to be our coolest day of the week, and then we get into the low 80s for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You see a little pattern developing here, right? Mostly sunny skies, nice temperatures, cool overnights. Can't beat that. All right, Monday on the program, we have Music Lovers Club coming in, as well as the Democratic Club, and Bree will be our host, so look forward to that. That's going to do it for this edition of Village Television and This Day. For all of us here at Village Television, we hope you make this day a great one.